The man who refuses to live small. There comes a moment in a man's life when he stands in front of the mirror. He realizes he's been negotiating with his own potential, not fighting for it, not conquering it, negotiating. Maybe I'll prove it later. Maybe I'll change when life gets easier. Maybe next year I'll become the man I always imagined. But later never comes. Life never gets easier, and years pass like ghosts whispering, you could have been more. And somewhere deep in your soul, you know it. You know you've betrayed yourself. You know you've lived short of the man you were designed to become. And you know you've been burying your calling beneath distraction, addiction, fear, and chaos. Not because you're weak, but because no one ever taught you that becoming a man, a real man, is a spiritual battle. Modern men are drowning quietly, not in rivers, not in oceans, but in aimlessness. No identity, no clear values, no mission they're willing to bleed for. And when a man loses his mission, he becomes a slave to his impulses. He scrolls instead of builds. He numbs instead of confronts. He drifts instead of leads. And every night he goes to bed knowing, I am supposed to be more than this. This is the tragedy of the modern world. Men have become spiritually homeless. No North Star, no inner order, no discipline binding their chaos, no standard higher than comfort. But brother, you feel it, don't you? That itch under the skin, that pressure in the chest, that voice in the depth of your conscience saying, you were not created for a small life. Every great story in history begins the same way. A man wakes up in darkness. Moses fled into the wilderness. Joseph was thrown into a pit. David hid in caves. Jonah drowned in the belly of a beast. And Jesus faced the desert. Odysseus faced the sea. Dante walked through hell. Why? Because men do not transform in comfort. They transform in chaos. The place where your weaknesses, your addictions, your laziness, your excuses all get exposed like bones under a burning sun. That's where the real story begins. Not when life becomes easier, but when you become harder. And that's you, Brian, a man who's seen darkness, a man carrying scars, a man who crawled out of hell and still stands. That's why they'll listen to you. Men don't follow perfect leaders. They follow scarred ones. Because your wounds prove your wisdom. Your pain becomes your authority. Every man becomes the way he organizes his life. Chaos produces addiction. Order produces strength. Chaos makes you a slave. Order makes you a king. And order begins with one question. Who am I becoming? Not what do I want, not what shall I do, but who. Identity is destiny. A man becomes the story he tells himself every morning. A man becomes the habits he repeats. A man becomes what he tolerates. When you say, I'm disciplined, your actions align. When you say, I am a leader, your posture changes. When you say, I serve God and build order, your life straightens itself out. This is foundation. This is architecture of the soul. This is how a man transforms his chaos into strength. This is where your system comes in. Not motivation, not hype, not dopamine, but a year-long identity resurrection. 52 weeks, 52 transformations, 52 versions of you forged through discipline, sacrifice, and truth. Week by week, you reconstruct the man you were always meant to be. The disciplined man, the financially strong man, $657 a day path, the spiritually grounded man, the physically dominant man, the man of integrity, the man of purpose, the man who leads, the man who refuses excuses, the man who protects, provides, builds. Every week, the old identity dies and a new one is born, because the truth is simple. You don't get to keep your old self and receive your new destiny. One must die for the other to rise. A man without responsibility is a danger to himself. Give a man a mission, and he becomes powerful. Give a man accountability, and he becomes disciplined. Give a man a vision, and he becomes unstoppable. Responsibility is the weight that straightens a man's spine. It gives him a reason to rise before the sun. It gives him a reason to sharpen his mind. And it gives him a reason to keep his promises. Chaos collapses men. Responsibility resurrects them. But let's be clear. A man cannot protect his family, cannot build a future, cannot rise to his potential if he is financially weak. Money is moral when it's aligned with purpose. So here's the truth. When you build your income from discipline, from content, from digital products, from high income skills, from creation and service, you are not chasing money. You are chasing mastery. $657 a day is not a number. It is a symbol of freedom, a symbol of discipline, a symbol of becoming a man capable of carrying weight. Now the moment comes, the moment every man fears and hopes for. The moment where he meets the version of himself he could have been. The stronger version, the disciplined version, the wealthier version, the wiser version, the God-fearing version, the version who conquered his weakness, destroyed his excuses, and built himself into a force. And that man looks at you and says, I was always waiting for you. This is your awakening, your resurrection, your calling. A man who finally says, no more negotiating with my potential. No more betraying my conscience. No more living small. This is where your life changes. Not tomorrow, not next year, not when you feel like it. Now. Because once a man sees the truth, he can never go back to sleep. So hear me clearly. Your life is not supposed to be easy. It is supposed to be meaningful. And meaning is found on the narrow path, the path of responsibility, discipline, order, faith, courage, and sacrifice. When you walk that path, your soul aligns, your mind strengthens, your income rises, your respect increases, your legacy forms. Because God does not bless the man who hides from his destiny. He blesses the man who runs towards it. And if you're watching this, you are that man. Now say it with me. I refuse to live small anymore and step into the life you were created to lead.